even if he has not taught you. Mind you, what kind of powerful control this story has on the mind? We were all taught this story when we were children to be obedient, correct? To be obedient, to be respectful to teacher. But should we be respectful to such a teacher? But nobody told us that. Your father didn't tell you when he told this story. Did you tell your daughter about this interpretation? No. No parents ever told their children that please remember, if you come across a teacher like Dronacharya, you are not supposed to respect. नहीं बताया ना?
I got to know that. I mean, if you look at the Mahabharata, right, at the end of it, there is a denunciation of Dronacharya by him, his disciple. He says that you are not following the dharma of nature. You are deliberately creating moral conflicts for your students who have been forced to fight against you. And out of deep respect, I mean, we don't want to kill you, but it's not like we can't kill you. You have dharma on our sides. So even the text itself is denouncing Dronacharya.
No, but when at that time when you heard the story, you had not processed the entire Mahabharata in your mind, isn't it? You were a child.
Even as a child, I was told that story as an example of like, I mean, sometimes people are, even like the greatest of people, are going to like create moral policies, and at that time you've got to like stand up for yourself. Like, I mean, I don't know about, I'm sure that might not be what everybody else got taught, but that's what I got taught. And in that reason, that really helped me like question. That really helped me question authority, especially when it's unreasonable authority. So, I think that really...
But imagine if every parent had done what your parents did, let's put it this way for a minute, society will be far more autonomous, it will have far greater agency among the individuals. In other words, people will start thinking what is right and wrong, and no matter what the scriptures say, if this is wrong, then this is wrong. And I won't do that. So there could be enormous freedom, there could be enormous diversity, there could be enormous creativity in the society, isn't it? What am I aiming at? I'm aiming at a mindset. One of the projects that we are trying to generate from here is, how do we question those metaphors? Metaphors are powerful, that we have seen. They are so powerful that the country of 1 billion people ensured somehow that in every corner of the country this story will be told to the children, and for the same reason. There is a great project. It's a huge conspiracy, huge orchestration, a great indoctrination project in the process, right? In the works. And they are able to achieve it so well. सब लोगों ने सुनाया इस कहानी को, एक ही मकसद से सुनाया है कहानी को, सबके दिमाग में ताला लगा दिया. Now here is a person who is saying, no, but this is not right, we should not let this happen. Now what is the guarantee that when you grow up, and you are grown up, but your children will not listen to this story in this manner? क्या गारंटी है कि आपने हरि को ये कहानी ऐसी नहीं सुनाई होगी? कोई गारंटी नहीं है ना इसकी. But if every young person today resolves in the country, not just in the class, that when they tell the metaphors, when they use metaphors, they will also produce a critical thinking, an ability to judge and evaluate, and not decide on the basis of what their parents are telling, then we have a society which is much more enabled, empowered society. You know what? When my child was in class 6th or 7th, one day I was going through his copybook, and I found the teacher had corrected a spelling by mistake which was not actually correct. So I made the correction. He started crying. So I said, why are you crying? No, my teacher will be angry now. You can't do that, because in his view, teacher could do no wrong. So I wrote a letter. I said, look, you take this letter to your teacher. I will write down that, madam, you are so busy, maybe you have so many notebooks to check. Sometime by oversight, this could have been left. So therefore I corrected, but my son is very unhappy that I did it. So kindly explain to him that this is all right. But he was very upset. In his world view, teacher could do no wrong. I'm talking about only about 30 years, 35 years ago. So I think there are a lot of children even today who still respect, at least, and in younger age. After that, when they come to our time, they may not respect. But in the younger age, they do. The schools, they still hold them in awe, isn't it? And yes.
So I have a question. If you look at all our ancient scriptures, right? I think almost all of them are structured in a question and answer format between a teacher and disciple. A disciple is like they keep on doing like a lot of tarks and vitarks. Like they keep on doing, but why that? And the teachers like making them question that and answering that. And the question answer format. Like they're trying to like make the student question the teacher, like to question like the essence of what he's saying, like point out flaws and then figure out. I mean, and that way like even expose the flaws in the student's reasoning. So I don't.
You know what happened? What happened, unfortunately, is that we remember the lessons, answers. We didn't remember the art of questioning. So we now know what question was asked and what answer was given. That we remembered. But we do not remember the process of questioning. So you are right about scriptures. But when they were communicated, this lesson, that look, this is not the question and answer that you are learning. You are learning the art of questioning. In the Socratic tradition, in Platonic dialogues, that tradition we didn't develop. We didn't develop enough. We did develop to some extent. If we hadn't developed, then the beautiful book Abol Tabol by Sukumar Ray, father of Satyajit Ray, would not have come about. I don't know if anybody has read that book, but it's a beautiful book about absurd poetry, which almost every child in Bengal has read it at some stage or the other. Because this book has surprises at every turn. Anything can happen. कुछ भी हो सकता है कहानी के अंदर. उल्टी सीधी कहानी है वो, उल्टा पुल्टा. हैं? तुम्हें याद है कोई लाइन उसकी? अबोध बोल की लाइन याद है कुछ? Yes. But you see, now it is not surprising. I'm generalizing, but it's not surprising that culture in Bengal has produced some of the finest thinkers and revolutionists, whatever you call it. If you look at the number of intellectuals produced in that state, without prejudice to anybody and anyone, there seems to be much higher probability of an avant-garde concept evolving in Bengal. There was a cultural richness, isn't it? You will call Bengal as the cultural capital of the country, isn't it? At least there is something which that culture has been able to reach. There is a lot of questioning. New formats of film, new formats of music, new formats of storytelling, new formats of play. No matter in which field, they're able to invent. So if there is a Kali Puja pandal, then they will make pandals with different themes now. So some pandals only of paper or some paper cup or some earthen cup or whatever have you. I mean, they experiment. The most sacred space is allowed to be experimented with. Impossible anywhere else. In South India, no way. They're so disciplined in their archanas, in their pujas. But in Bengal, even Kali Puja's pandal can be experimented with. Amazing. Now that is what I am saying. That if you have such cultural instrument, one story, one book can transform the mind of generation after generation. It has been read almost by every Bengali practically. It is a must read in every house. I am saying other cultures in our country did not produce absurd poetry for whatever reason. And therefore, so perhaps have not developed enough ability to question. There are questions and answers, but there is not an ability to question. And art has a great role to play in this ability to question. When you produce art which is breaking the formats, whatever they exist, as it happened over the years, that can produce this. So it is not that we have not produced artists of that kind. We have, but not enough. Let me quickly go to the point, and I'll close. Fourth is that if you look at the reliance on common properties, it is much higher here, much lower here. So in a market dependent society, much less. I was giving an example at tea time. If you have a campus walk and go behind the houses of class 4 employees, class 3 employees, class 2 employees, and class 1 and then faculty, and look at the open space, and I have done that in my class, senior course, you will notice, someday you should go there, you will notice that the open space is best kept behind the houses of class 1 employees, class 4 employees. The poorest employees take the best care of the common property. Richer the employees, the less care they take of the space around their homes. Faculty doesn't care at all. We are kings of our small kingdom which is there in the boundary of our house. I am responsible only for the house within my fence. I don't care what is happening next time outside my fence. I am not responsible. So the more I have, the more resources I have, the less responsible I am. Amazing. But that's the reality. You can just go and walk tomorrow behind the class for employees and just take a walk in the campus and you will find what I am saying. It will be evident to you. It's an empirical reality and I have done that for many years. And you can go anywhere else. You go to poor areas, you go to the places, slums areas of Ahmedabad, you will find the common space will be much better cleaned there. Because that's the only place children have to play where the old people can sit. They have no place in their homes. Their homes are one room. They can't have any privacy at all if everybody was to sit in the same room. So they are bound to do that. Women headed households or managed households. Much more here, much less here. You go to Bastar, you go to Arku, you go to Purulia, you go to these regions where nature dependence is much higher, you find women are much more liberated on one hand, they have much greater agency, much greater autonomy, and they can take decisions. They can decide to discard their husbands if they don't like it, and they can choose another husband if they want. Society is very permissive and tolerant of this behavior. They believe that women have a right. उसको आदमी नहीं पसंद आया छोड़ दो उसको यार, दूसरा आदमी ढूंढ लो, क्या दिक्कत है? किसने कहा कि तुमको जो माँ बाप ने कह दिया वही ठीक है? वहां पर मैरिजेस अपने आप होती हैं, कोई अरेंज मैरिज कंसेप्ट नहीं है ट्राइबल सोसाइटी के अंदर. ये कंसेप्ट हमारे हैं, उनके यहाँ तो आजादी है. क्यों भाई चेतन, सही है कि नहीं? ये फ्रीडम. So we call them backward. We are supposed to be developed. What kind of development it is, which doesn't give much choice to us? So please remember, I am repeating the point about volition. How come that we associate lack of volition as a sign of development? This I don't understand. I thought development was supposed to be increasing the time span and widening the decision-making horizon. This was the definition we began with, isn't it? But we are finding contradictory evidence of that. We are finding that societies which do opposite of that are supposed to be developed. How can that be? Sixth, if you look at the games, and this one I will also like to mention, the games children play, there are two principles here. One, in our life, the strategic choice games have become very popular. One best solution games. But one best solution games. But if you look at all the cultures around the world, and I have done some studies on that in my various conferences, I've asked people to tell me what games did they play in Africa, Latin America, wherever. All cultures in the past designed games of randomization. So snake and ladder, at 99 a snake eats you and brings you to 11. Right? And there is no way you can develop a skill in winning that game. It is a matter of chance. So when outcomes are uncertain, randomization is the best policy. We discussed that yesterday or day before. That stapu, that you key bunch or something you throw and the girls will then go and hop, whatever that's called. You know, or different games, snake and that musical chair. All these games played around the world involve a principle of randomization, which means the cultures are trying to teach the young children that develop the capability to deal with uncertainty. Isn't it? And uncertainty is all right. So therefore, have what we discussed the other day, equanimity. It's all right to get 99, snake at 99. Don't cry. Isn't it? It's all right. It's a part of the game. You can get 99 and you can get a snake and it's all right to come to 11. All right. Good. Don't cry. Don't cry. That's part of life. What effect it has. Can you imagine? This child obviously will then have the capacity to deal with ups and downs in life better. Correct? Say yeah. Whereas the modern games give you one best choice. You can develop a skill. So whether you have this trade or whatever those games are, there is a strategy and you can win those games. You can develop the mastery over those games. The randomness is gone. Even the novels, in between novels came where you could decide on page 30, do you want your hero to die?